Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Hare Krishna. Hi. Okay, so welcome everyone. Um, for anyone who's joining us on our live stream, it's the three of us here on Zoom. There's one thing I noticed when Guru Maharaj gave the class. I haven't checked like very recently, but I saw like a day or two after he gave the class, there was some 80 or 90 views on the YouTube channel. So it's like, yeah, quite a few devotees and people saw the class, and so it's very nice. Yeah, it's very nice to see. Okay.
Yay, we're popular.
Yeah, well, he's popular.
Exactly.
All right. So we're starting off with
Our classes get a few watches as well.
yeah, I have noticed that too. They are quite like, yeah. So whoever I guess is going to see this, or whoever is maybe watching it now, again, everyone is encouraged to attend. Yeah, I hope no one who sees this feels any kind of pressure or anything like that that draws them away from joining the Zoom class, the Zoom call. All right, so we're on continuing our study of the second canto, chapter 2. We're on text 4. But before we do that, let's do our prayers. Oops, I'm in the wrong chapter. Sorry, I don't remember the English translation, so I'm just pulling that up. Here you
I can quickly send it if you don't have it there.
go. I'm pulling it up right now. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, so chapter 2 is entitled The Lord in the Heart, and chapter 1 was the first step in God realization. So we've covered in our first chapter, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, he covered all these different aspects of Krishna's manifestation, of how he manifests himself and how we can visualize him in the Virat Rupa, and so now we're talking about something. Shukadeva Goswami is going into more intimate, more personal view of Krishna here. I'm gonna try the Sanskrit. Satyam Shitao Kim Kashipo Prayasaid Bahau Sva Siddhe Hyupabarhanaihi Kim Satyanjalao Kim Pura Dhana Patrya Dhigvalka Ladhau Sati Kim Dukulaihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? Let me check this off too. When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick little summary for my own sake too. But in chapter 2, so Shukadeva Goswami, the very first verse that he says is that formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. And then he continues by saying the way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to the meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. And then the verse before ours today, for this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing. Okay, so that makes sense now. Um, so yeah, the verse previous to ours today, Srila Shukadeva Goswami is talking about the minimum necessities of life, and so now today um, he is expanding on that, giving examples of why we even need a cot or a bed if there's earthly flats. And I'll just read today's translation one more time, and then the purport. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? And then our purport. The necessities of life for the protection and comfort of the body must not be unnecessarily increased. Human energy is spoiled in a vain search after such illusory happiness. If one is able to lie down on the floor, then why should one endeavor to get a good bedstead or soft cushion to lie on? If one can rest without any pillow and make use of the soft arms endowed by nature, there is no necessity of searching after a pillow. If we make a study of the general life of the animals, we can see that they have no intelligence for building big houses, furniture, and other household paraphernalia, and yet they maintain a healthy life by lying down on the open land. They do not know how to cook or prepare foodstuff, yet they still live healthy lives more easily than the human being. This does not mean that human civilization should revert to animal life, or that the human being should live naked in the jungles without any culture, education, and sense of morality. An intelligent human cannot live the life of an animal. Rather, man should try to utilize his intelligence in arts and science, poetry, and philosophy. In such a way, he can further the progressive march of human civilization. But here, the idea given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami is that the reserve energy of human life, which is far superior to that of animals, should simply be utilized for self-realization. Advancement of human civilization must be towards the goal of establishing our lost relationship with God, which is not possible in any form of life other than the human. One must realize the nullity of the material phenomenon, considering it a passing phantasmagoria, and must endeavor to make a solution to the miseries of life. Self-complacence with a polished type of animal civilization geared to sense gratification is delusion, and such a civilization is not worthy of the name. In pursuit of such false activities, a human being is in the clutches of Maya or illusion. Great sages and saints in the days of yore were not living in palatial buildings furnished with good furniture and so-called amenities of life. They used to live in huts and groves and sit on the flat ground, and yet they have left immense treasures of high knowledge with all perfection. Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami were high-ranking ministers of state, but they were able to leave behind them immense writings on transcendental knowledge, while residing only for one night underneath one tree. They did not live even 2 nights under the same tree, and what to speak of well-furnished rooms with modern amenities. And still they were able to give us most important literatures of self-realization. So-called comforts of life are not actually helpful for progressive civilization. Rather, they are detrimental to such progressive life. In the system of Sanatana Dharma, of 4 divisions of social life and 4 orders of progressive realization, there are ample opportunities and sufficient directions for a happy termination of a progressive life. And the sincere followers are advised therein to accept a voluntary life of renunciation in order to achieve the desired goal of life. If one is not accustomed to abiding by the life of renunciation and self-abnegation from the beginning, one should try to get into the habit at a later stage of life as recommended by Srila Sukadeva Goswami, and that will help one to achieve the desired success. And then read the translation one more time. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of varieties of utensils? When there is ample covering or the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Okay, so Srila Prabhupada brought up many points in his purport. So I'm just going to touch upon just a few so that we can all have time to speak because it's already 8:52. But so let's see. One of the first points that stood out to me was when it was brought up how animals are living healthily even though they don't have such um, advanced or such like elegant living situations. You know, we have animals living in forests and trees on the ground and open land. And it made me think of just recently how today, and I think it started yesterday, how here in Florida there's a tropical storm and hurricane and even tornado warnings. And specifically where we're living here, luckily we didn't get hit with anything very too bad. It was just a lot of rain. And so it's just been raining all this time and somewhat windy. But we live right in front of like a pond, and all night and all day I could just hear the frogs. There's so many frogs and they're all just croaking and croaking. And it made me, in reading the purport, made me think of that because they don't have a house, they're not they're not having to board their windows or, you know, run to the grocery store and stock up on
Paper.
gallons and gallons of water or toilet paper or paper towels, and yet they're totally fine. They're just croaking and croaking throughout the whole hurricane or tornado, whatever comes. They're totally at peace, totally at ease. But people, you know, us who we're supposed to be so civilized and have culture and all this, we don't know, even know how to take care of ourselves, and we have our houses, you know, if it's like a trailer home, it's just getting ripped up, and there goes your whole house right there. It's like a tornado just ripping your whole trailer, and you don't have a house anymore. And so we don't know how to react. We don't know how to respond to that. We don't know how to really live with nature better. Like an animal knows how to live with nature better than we do. And here Prabhupada is highlighting that. And so all these advancements and things that are supposed to help us feel secure and supposed to keep us safe actually don't really give us that security or that safety. So that was one point that stood out. And then what is it? Another point that he mentioned was, let's see. Oh, well then the whole verse is Srila Shukadeva Goswami talking about how we just need to live with the bare minimum, like the bare necessities of life. Um, but it's very rare for someone to be living in that way. So it's very, very rare for someone to be able to just be living sleeping on the earth or using his arms for pillows, not even having clothes. They just take the skin of trees and that's their clothes. I mean, I don't know how many of you all have seen someone wearing bark as their clothes, but I haven't seen anyone like that. And so this points to something that Srila Mananatha Maharaj mentioned, that with Shastra is giving us like the highest, like this is the highest level of knowledge. This is the highest principle. This is the pinnacle of perfection of spiritual life. And between where we are in our spiritual life and the perfection of spiritual life, there's a huge amount of gray area. So it's like, you know, it's not, spiritual life is black or white. It's not like we read this and automatically we should think that, oh, let me give up my house, let me give up everything and go live on the, if this is what I'm supposed to do, let me live on the earth, let me use my arms as pillows, let me get rid of all my possessions so that I can advance in spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada, in the very end of the purport, he even addresses this. He says, if one is not accustomed to abiding by the life of renunciation and self-abnegation from the beginning, one should try to get into the habit at a later stage of life, as recommended by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and that will help one to achieve the desired success. So even though this is what we're reading, and this is coming from Shukadeva Goswami, and this is the truth, he's giving us the truth. Um, this is this is the highest level, and if we're not at the highest level, then it's not in a way that we should take it to feel guilty or to feel bad about ourselves, thinking that, this is how I should be living and I'm not living this way, and being some kind of anxiety to live in a way that we're not ready for, spiritually, consciously. We're not at that stage yet. um, and so just gradually coming into a point where the whole point being that we're living simply in a way to advance in our Krishna consciousness. That really the theme and really the theme and the core of what the message today is that our life is really meant for spiritual realization. And so if there's things that we have that maybe we don't need, then it's like a gradual kind of renunciation of things. I mean, like we hear about spring cleaning, where during the springtime it's like bringing in the new, I guess, like the new weather, the new flowers, and everything is blooming, and so let's get rid of things that we don't need. Let's clean up the house. And so this is what our spiritual life is like too, where instead of holding on to things that maybe we are no longer serving us or we no longer need, um, we're striving to live a more simple life. And so we can gradually start letting go of things that we don't need, whether that's like material objects, whether that's uh, like places that we're like our own home, or whatever level we're at. It's nothing to be taken to the extreme. It's just meaning that um it's just meaning that living simply is what's conducive, is what the most conducive thing for our spiritual life is. And so however we can get into a place of more simplicity in our life, then the better off we'll be, practicing and trying to, think of Krishna, which is the whole point, which is trying to think of Krishna, connect with Krishna, want to be with Krishna, serve Krishna, and serve his devotees, serve our spiritual master. um, Everything that's conducive to our spiritual life, and ultimately rekindling that connection that we have with Krishna. So these were just some points that I wanted to bring up. If anyone else wanted to add anything, or if there's any questions.
I appreciate your point about uh, kind of working with nature, like you're talking about with the frogs, how the frogs are just peaceful. You're also making me miss home with all your talk of storms and hurricanes. Yeah, because I remember being in that area, and that's a very nice area if you're going to go through a hurricane, because everybody gets off work, but yet you're too far inland for really any horrible disaster, usually, most of the time. So we would always have hurricane parties when I was there. But anyway, your point about work, being in harmony with nature, it kind of goes along with this verse in the sense of we shouldn't try to like create more needs than what we actually need. And what I mean by this, take the example of, the storm you guys are going through right now there. Well, places like Florida, naturally, they would have sand dunes on the beach. And sand dunes protect against the part of hurricanes that normally cause the most damage, which is storm surge. The waves come in. And so, but what happens as human beings, we see profit, right? So we go and we knock down all those sand dunes and we build condos and resorts because we want them as close to the water as possible. They'd probably do the same thing in Puerto Rico, but I'm just guessing. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, so they can make money, and then that creates an artificial demand because when a storm comes now, you have so much more damage and so much more suffering than you probably otherwise would have had. If you just left the sand dunes there that Krishna gave to protect us. Um, One of the things I was watching a video about when they established the capital in the Dominican Republic of Santo Domingo. There, the Rio Sama flows into the ocean, but it creates this very violent, it was creating this very violent waves. So they're having a lot of shipwrecks. So, and then they decided, okay, well, let's build this wave breaker to make things safer. And then a hurricane came and like destroyed part of the wave breaker. So the point that I'm trying to make with all this is that the Bhagavatam, of course, this is an extreme example of okay, what's the point of clothes when you have tree bark and this and that? But we can take the essence of it, and we can see that we shouldn't try to artificially create more needs than like necessary. Like in Florida now, because like I mentioned with the sand dunes, now they have this policy where every building has to be able to withstand a category 3 or 4 hurricane. That you had to have all these special materials. So it's a hassle. And then also you just notice if you live outside the United States, people are happy like with less. You find people that have so much less and they're happy. I remember going to a movie theater with my family not too long ago because I have nieces and nephews, and what did they want to go see? Anyway, some kids movie. So anyway, we went to the movie theater, and it was right by my grandparents' house, and I was thinking, oh, this is a really nice movie theater. Like these seats are comfortable, popcorn's nice, and things like this. And my nieces and nephews, they were like, this theater's not as good as the other one. And I'm like, what's wrong with this movie theater? They're like, the other theater, the seats recline. And then they have like a thing to put your feet up. And I'm like, well, we're here to watch a movie, not go to sleep. But it's just a point of like how, because of the desire for material enjoyment, like we create these things that we think we need when in actuality we don't actually need them. So therefore, in turn, it creates so much anxiety. So the Shima Bhagavatam, it said in the verse previous to this one, like what is the point of desiring? Oh God, what was that verse? But basically saying material happiness doesn't actually give any real happiness. So therefore, what is the point in going after it? So it's a good reminder that we should be thinking, do I really need this? Can I live without it? Can I be happy without it? Just practically, I remember when I was in India for a year, I actually didn't have internet. And I would go to a friend's house whenever I needed to send an email. And that's how I would communicate with people in the States. And every once in a while, I would make a phone call. But there was no internet. I didn't have any internet the whole time I was there. And no TV or anything like that. And no air conditioning even, just the fan. And I was reading Bhagavatam for several hours every day. And I remember I was so happy, like I was like, wow, like in America, like I thought I needed all these things and I actually don't really need them to be happy. So what the Bhagavatam is really putting us in check. Say, look at the sages, they had this very simple life. We should decrease these artificial demands that we have placed on ourselves. Because ultimately they just will cause us more suffering and ends. Then you'll get to a point where it's like, oh, I can't go to the movie theater because the seats don't recline. I mean, I'm not advocating going to the movie, but anyway, you get my point. So yeah, I mean, even though one might look at this verse, might pass over it, but we should really try to understand the essence If I think we look at our own lives, we probably are living with more things than we actually need, and probably have more things than we really need. And it's a good check that we should work on simplifying our life, because eventually we're gonna have to let this all go anyway. So
Hare Krishna. Well, what strikes me is the wording in the first sentence. And I know that's not the original language, this is the English translation, but when there are ample earthly flats to lie on, it just right away, it makes me think of how disconnected we are from the earth, how we all need grounding. And recently somebody told me, oh, part of your healing process, you have to get out there in some place, and go barefoot in the grass, and some place that's clean and you feel safe, and go barefoot in the grass, and because you need to connect with the earth. And this is so true. We are so far from not only our connection to God, but our connection to the earth itself, which is a way that we connect with God. And we talked a lot about that in the first chapter. But so yes, there are ample earthly flats, but we don't connect with them. We don't, in order to go to sleep, we have to, have a bed frame and a bed on top covered with sheets and pillows and covers and a fan and maybe an air conditioner. And, and this is, whereas, our more natural state of our ancestors who actually walked the earth, and actually, migrated. Maybe they came from the tropics and migrated to colder climates or whatever, but people moved and they connected with the earth. And we are so disconnected from the earth that it's a big deal, to go camping. Oh, I'm gonna go camping. We're gonna put up a tent. What hard work that was. And then I'm gonna, lay on the ground, like on top of my sleeping bag or whatever. And this is such a big deal for us. But in reality, it should be a big deal. We are so disconnected that we don't know how to just lie down on the ground and go. We see the bums doing it on the street. And we say, oh, how disgusting. How can that guy actually lie there on that dirty street, with all this noise around him, and, and sleep. But in reality, although maybe he doesn't care for himself, maybe he's not clean or whatever, I don't know what the circumstance of this particular person lying on the street is, but in any case, in a way, they're further advanced than us because they're connecting, with the ground and and with the earthly flats. And so that this is something that we have to think a lot about. Yes, we are all way too dependent on things that we don't really need. And not only that, we don't even take the time to like put them aside and go for a walk barefoot, or living in the tropics and living in Puerto Rico. Do I go to the beach a couple times a year? Or, it's like, well, it's all right there. It's all right there. And we don't take the time. We need to be woken. Someone has to wake us up and say, look at you, all of these things are so important to you, but they mean nothing. Just, you're not even comfortable in your own skin on your own planet with surrounded by your trees. You're not even comfortable with that. How can you even imagine that you're a realized soul if you can't even be comfortable in your own natural way of being? And this is why we're here. We have to learn how to get back to Godhead. We have to learn to connect with the earthly flats, and we have to learn to give up all of these things that are surrounding us, which is quite a process because we've taken years and years and years of our lives to accumulate things. And if you're younger and you're starting to get rid of things now, yay. As the older you get, the more you look around and the more, and at some point, you think everything has a value and you're supposed to sell everything or make sure everything gets into the right hands. But no, at the end, you just have to let everything go. And you just have to let it go and not worry about where it's going. You would be surprised. And that's why, oftentimes many valuable things end up in the trash. But how much can a human being, how much energy can a human being put into that? You went through so much effort to accumulate and to get it. It was so important, and now you've decided that it's not important. As a matter of fact, it's holding you back. You have to get rid of it. So why even to think that you need to pass this on to somebody else, because you're just going to clutter their lives up too. So yeah. So that's what I get out of this verse. Thank you.
It's helpful to do it once a year. Like go through like once a year and clean out. That way it doesn't accumulate over the years. And really, if something's been sitting in your home for a year and you haven't used it, you probably don't need it that bad. So, and another thing I was thinking is, in terms of artificial necessities, when you're talking about beds, I was thinking about, for some reason, what hit my mind was fitted sheets. Like somehow, like I've been all over the world, and like I've noticed in America, for some reason, we love fitted sheets. You go to other places and they just put a sheet and they just like tuck it under the mattress, and then they rip it off and they wash it and they put it back on. But no, here we gotta have the fitted sheet and then the sheet on top of that, and the sheet on top of that. And it has to be 300, 400, 500 count or whatever, something like that. So anyway, it's just the absurdity of everything.
Yeah, 500 count Egyptian cotton or something like Madagascar or
Right.
some super, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, it is like absurd, it is crazy to think how far away we are and how far away we just continue going. Can't even we can't even be bothered to drive our own cars to get around anymore. We have to have like autopilot cars, self-driving cars,
Cruise control.
cruise control, all of that. Yeah, I can't be bothered to move my foot 2 inches anymore for extended periods of time. I need to put on cruise control.
or to
Yeah,
look or to look backwards to like back up. You gotta have a little like screen in
yeah, yeah, yeah,
True,
yeah.
and this is the fear with robots beginning to take over and starting to do things that we won't have to do anything anymore. We'll be
Mm,
like in that animated cartoon Wall-E, where we're just being moved from place to place. We're getting fat and just eating and not even engaging in our surroundings at all. Just everything being delivered to us, and no effort on our part. And how can we let that happen?
mhm.
or even worse, like Terminator.
I don't really remember. Yeah, it's
Terminator
been a long time, I think. Yeah,
all Maya, but basically
yeah.
technology becomes so advanced that robots become so intelligent, and I believe they start to take over and have a plan to destroy the humans and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you hear that
Yeah.
in so many like movies and books and all of that. The technology, yeah, destroys the creator. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
um, one aspect of this verse I was coming to was thinking about how, yeah, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking about externally living like a simple life and yeah, like decluttering. Basically Shukadeva Goswami is emphasizing decluttering here, or he's a proponent for decluttering our lives. And then another aspect too, I was thinking about internally too, of like how many things we have going on internally, like thoughts or like subtle attachments to things that are also like cluttered, that are like cluttering our mind and cluttering our intelligence. and keeping us from thinking of Krishna, because oh, I can't think of Krishna because I'm thinking about my 401k, or what's going to happen to me in retirement, or how my stocks doing, or my grandchildren. Are my grandchildren going to think about me, or is my wife still going to love me, my husband, and like so many things that like internally is also keeping us, that is also like cluttering our mind and really putting a fog in our in our in our um, in our sadhana, like in our spiritual practice. There's one nice example, um, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, like, well, my wife was speaking about it too, where she was talking about how there was once where she was like chanting, chanting japa, and it felt like there was a space of time where it felt like she was aware of how when we're chanting, like we get lost in so many things. We're trying to chant Krishna's holy names, and then we get lost in like this thought or that thought, and it kind of becomes like normal for us to have that experience, that when we're trying to connect with Krishna and trying to chant, that it's just kind of normal for all these thoughts to come in and bombard us and distract us. But when we have like a moment where it's like we're really hearing, and we're really like, yeah, we're really able to focus and like hear the names, it's like something totally new, like totally alien to us. And so yeah, that being like an example of how internally too we also have to, gradually be letting go of things that are also are not serving us. Mhm. Yeah. And I don't know if anyone wanted to add to that, but yeah, and just being in the West, I mean, being in the West, it's like the epitome of extravagance and luxury and um artificial needs and necessities, things that just like, this is the belly of what it means to live in excess of more than what you need. Yeah.
Very true, Govinda. And even as young children, we have more of a consciousness of how we don't need things, and we don't
Yeah.
understand. But our parents and our training, our society starts throwing more and more things on us, and what we need and why we need, and why can't we just live, a life where we're just following our thoughts? No, we need all of these things around us, and you know, um, even as a young child, I mean, as a young child. I used to question, why do people in society even need to wear clothes?
Mhm.
Okay, this is a young child thought. What is this thing about clothes? Because why are people so obsessed with this thing? And not only clothes, what about shoes? Like, look at all those different varieties of shoes that women wear, and it's just like, at one point, young one says, no, but you don't need anything. And even little children, autistic children, for instance, will throw their clothes off. It's like, well, I don't need this. What is this for? But then, society, everything, it's ingrained in us. We're taught, we're to, no, you can't be like that. This is the way. You must go the accepted way. And then more and more things get piled on, more and more things that we have to assimilate and make them a part of our lives, when they're not really a part of our natural lives. They're a bunch of artificial things, and we put those things on our children with all of the best intentions. We want the best for our children. We want our children to behave properly. We want them to understand certain things and how to survive in society. And so we start throwing all of that on them, and we start stifling their natural desires, and say, no, 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 but it's like this. And because that's what I was taught. And so I don't know, what the point is that we are far away from our natural state of being, and for many reasons. And we, even in with our best intentions, will take our own children further and further away from their natural state of being by, throwing all of this artificial needs on top of their consciousness, just like it was done to us. you know. Eh.
There's a story about a sage, and I hope I get this story right, but if not, I don't get all the details, I'll at least get the gist. So he noticed a rat was chewing through his cloth. So he got a cat to take care of the rat. But then he needed to have milk to give to the cat, so he got a cow. But then he needed to milk the cow, so then he got a wife to milk the cow. But then after he got a wife, he had children. And then the children needed to make money. And at some point he was just like, okay, forget it, because he kept trying to make his life more and more materially comfortable. Oh, I'm gonna make this adjustment, I'll be happy. I'm gonna make that adjustment, I'll be happy. But it just kept creating another problem, another problem, another problem. So it's one of the things that we always have to remember in life. You're never going to have a situation where you're completely comfortable. The game in the material world is rigged. And I heard a devotee describe it last week. It's like the casinos in Las Vegas.
Mm.
You know, they're not stupid. They rig the games to a certain extent. I mean, they're not just going to let you walk away with all the money. And they are made to where like you will spend hours and hours and hours playing these games. I haven't been in there, but people that I know apparently have been in there say in some places they don't even put windows, so you don't really have an idea of how long you've been in there. Either you can just get lost in this way, and in this these trying to be comfortable in the material world. It even goes down to how we can think about life sometimes. Because I noticed when I was a kid, sometimes people would say, oh, get a very good education so you don't end up having to be a plumber. Because of plumber, you go to school for less years and things like this. And actually, plumbers make. I got old and I realized plumbers actually can make pretty good money. but anyway, the point is, there's this idea of no, you need to like get an education to make the most money possible so that you're so comfortable. But the reality of that situation is those types of jobs, generally you won't have any time to enjoy your money. Like a girl I know who she lived on Wall Street. She had a job working in Wall Street. And she had more money than she could spend. I mean, the place that she lived in New York, her rent was $5,000 a month. So I mean, just yeah, that's tons. That's a lot of money. But anyway, I mean, and she was able to easily travel here and there, but she didn't have time. She said a lot of people in her field, they work from very early in the morning, sometimes till midnight. You go home just to sleep, and you get back up and you go to the office. Some apartments don't even have kitchens because people don't have time to cook. You get DoorDash all the time. So it creates this like you might get all this money, but you don't have any time to actually enjoy it, quote unquote, except for maybe when you have your 2 weeks paid time off. Which you can only probably take during certain times of the year, and then like this month you can't take it because they don't allow. Yeah, and then it has to be approved and yada yada yada. So it's a complete trap. One devotee I know, she got a job as like a, what do you call that in the hotel? The ladies that come and clean the rooms.
Oh, housekeeper or housekeeping?
Housekeeping, yeah, housekeeping. Yeah, I can't think of the proper name for them. I think they're called housekeeping. She got a job doing that, and she actually said that she loved it because she didn't have to think so hard every day. She just had to go and clean the room, so she was able to listen to like lectures and kirtans and things like that while she was cleaning and while she was changing sheets and things and things like this. And of course, with this said, we do need to be engaged according to our propensities to a certain extent in Krishna consciousness, because when we're on a lower level, we can't just do any work. We won't be happy. But with that said, we shouldn't be caught up in this trap of, oh, let me get this job to make the most money possible, or let me get this place, thinking I'm going to create some situation where I'm completely comfortable, because it just doesn't work. Like, I think I told you guys the story of the flight attendant I knew who lost her job in such a way she didn't get her retirement. And just totally like at 60 years old had to 65 had to actually go back to work, because everything that she had put in, it turned out that she didn't get it. So yeah, I mean, do what you need to do to maintain yourself. I think that's the point here. But don't yeah, just be careful. Don't get caught up in a trap thinking you're gonna make yourself more comfortable, because another problem's gonna come with it. Like Prabhupada would say, we have a certain amount of happiness and distress allotted to us materially, and you're not going to cheat your way out of that. I mean, even if you go up here, you know there's going to be a certain amount of distress come to balance it out, so you're going to get what you deserve in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, or I don't know if Yamuna wanted to say anything. Yeah, I mean, just made me think of like Bhagavad Gita, Krishna telling us from the highest planet to the lowest planet that ultimately everything is just
Can you
misery.
turn your volume up? The volume,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is that better?
that's better.
I have to get all close. Um, oh no, it just made me think of like Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells us from the highest planet to the lowest planet, like it's misery. Like the material world is just it's misery here, and so um, we can't adjust it. We can't make that adjustment. And personally speaking, I love the story about the rat and the cloth, and the rat eating the cloth, and then how he was trying to do everything to solve the issue, and just yeah. And so I mean, personally speaking, um, in our situation right now, we're like renting a house, and I had this idea of like buying the house and then renting the house to someone else, and we could buy another house, and then yeah. So it's like speaking like it's very. Can you hear me? I don't know why the sound gets so.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's speaking to me about how it's just yeah, you just kind of create these things, and what adds on to it too is when you look around and you see that this is what everyone is doing. Oh, everyone is buying another house, or they're buying this, or they're doing that, and they're renting it out, and then they're getting more money, and now they have this, and they have that, and it's like, oh well, then why don't I just do that too? But then it takes like some level of intelligence to kind of peel back the curtain and see, well, it can't all be good. There has to be some kind of drawback to you know in this situation. It's like to buying a property and then renting it out. There has to be some kind of drawback to it, and it's just like it just takes that kind of uh, endeavor, I guess, on our part to kind of see if the decision that I'm going to make is this going to affect me negatively? Is this going to impact what is most important, which is our Krishna consciousness? If this decision is going to impact my Krishna consciousness in a negative way, then Krishna reciprocates with us, and he can help us get that vision. Because what helped me was there's a devotee who does like financial. He's like a financial advisor, and he did a class specifically on like renting and like is it a good idea or not. And so I in like the first 5 minutes of the class he basically said no, it's not a good idea. You get entangled with so many things, and there's other ways to to do it. And so my point being that uh, with whatever it is, whatever decision that we're going to make that could potentially like entangle us or potentially engross us more in material life, if we just kind of take a minute, take a pause, and try to think and see if how this is going to affect us, and Krishna will reciprocate with us. So yeah, this has been a very nice class, just highlighting and emphasizing simple life, simplicity, both externally and internally, how we can best live in a way that's peaceful and that's simple and that keeps us really zoned in and focused in on what the goal of life is, so that we don't get distracted with so many things. Because I mean, that's the material world is like one big distraction. That's what it is. It's the purpose that it has, and so that's all we get. on a day-to-day basis, anywhere we go, anywhere we're traveling, that's what it's going to be, just distraction after distraction. And so it takes association like we're having now, reading Shastra. This helps us remember, wait a minute, this isn't really what I should be putting my time into. So yeah, I don't know if anyone is wanted to add any last closing remarks or yeah. Oh, Jai, here you go.
Wow, wow! I just like an hour went by so fast.
I know, huh? Yeah,
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 we didn't get off of the first verse this time.
yeah,
So much for three people, three verses.
yeah. Well, that's what I had thought. I mean, I honestly at the beginning I felt like I was rushing a little bit, and then it felt like, I mean, why rush? Why not just take the time to really kind of dive into the verse that we're reading and really churn the nectar? This is what
Yeah, yeah.
association is. So
Well, the next verse is related, of course, but the next verse also has a very, very long purport. So maybe that's going to take up a lot of time next week with Lavanga, Madhuri Lavanga.
Yeah.
You're going to read next week.
yeah,
Yes.
And for anybody who's paying attention, us, and for anybody else who's paying attention, remember there are 2 Monday holidays coming up, Balaram's Appearance Day and Janmashtami. So we will be having 2 weeks off this month. So after next week, that will be it for this month. Then we will resume in September. Okay.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that reminder.
Yes.
yeah.
And if you can, please put it in the group chat or announce it next week because I've gotten in the habit of this class that I might just show up on Balaram
Oh, well, I'm
Oh.
assuming that will be having celebrations right there at your own temple, and
Oh
for,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Balaram's Appearance Day. I assume Guru Maharaj will be giving a lecture in Santo Domingo at the temple, and and
Yeah.
Janmashtami, of course, everybody is occupied. So
Absolutely, yeah.
so
Oh, okay. Well, Cassandra wants to say hello. Cassandra and Shanti.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Shanti.
Hearing the class, and I was really inspired by you guys, the conversation, the discussion that was happening. It was very nice. So just wanted to say hello and thank you.
Thank you for coming and attending with us. It's nice to have you.
Yes, soon you'll have a whole band for your kirtan. You'll have 4 of you together playing different instruments and singing. Will be like a whole band.
Thank
Yeah.
I can't believe she's sitting up already. The time goes by so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a big girl.
Soon she's gonna be giving Bhagavatam classes.
Yeah.
Yes, also.
She's gonna be giving Chaitanya Charitamrita classes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. Yeah, I hope we'll see each other next week, and then after that, then I guess it'll be like 2 weeks. But yeah, this was very nice. So thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai.
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 Hare Krishna.
Patitanam
Vaishnavi,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.